Hi guys, Kim here. Welcome to Backyard Blooms. In today's video, I am going to give you some updates on the things that I have done this past week. So you might see the concrete container that I have behind me. If you missed that video from Creekside Nursery, you might want to go to that video. I gave you a step-by-step tutorial on how I create my plants for my container gardening. So you can watch that, and then I'm going to show a little clip of how I planted this container garden up. And I got the bunny out of the Galloway urn that we planted up for our Easter planting right before Easter. And I removed the bunny and added some plants, and I want to show that with you and share that with you. And some of those plants that I already have in that container are filling in really nice and are doing gorgeous. And I just wanted to re-share with you some of the plants that I put in there before and some of the plants that I added into that container. And I'm doing purples and whites in that container this year. And what else? So we pinched some plants back this year, and I wanted to share with you the benefits of pinching plants back, and I want to share with you where I planted those plants. I finally got them out in the garden. We are past our frost date, and the frost date could be a couple of weeks before, a couple of weeks after. We did have a cold spell right before our April 5th frost date. However, pretty good in the next couple of weeks, so I think we're like clear out of that. And all the plants that I did plant in the side garden, in my skinny side garden, is for my cut flower garden. I pinched all of those back, and I just want to give an update on that and show you the benefits of pinching. And then lastly for this video, I want to go to my very front container that's near the garage, and I've got some plants that I've got in there that are perennials. I need to remove those perennials and put them on the west side garden or here in the cottage garden where those plants like shade. And I'm going to add my annuals that I've got for the summer in there that match my very front garden. So we are going to do that today, and I believe by the time we do all that, that's going to make a pretty good video for today. So come on and garden with me guys today. Millionaire. So this is for my hummingbirds, guys. So I think I'm going to like this combination. So like I said, in tomorrow's video, we'll get all these planted up and I'll share everything with you, and I hope the combination's great. Look at this lavender. Look how beautiful. By the way, you smell it.
Say you'll never let me go. Take me back to the time when we knew how we
what my west side garden is looking like, and I wanted to dedicate this side, instead of doing lots of annuals, for all the seedlings that I produced as seed. So I started most of these seedlings. Let me see. This is where my name tag for all my plants are. These are called the shooting star dahlias, and I started those on 2/22. It looks like this past year. I want to come back with some really nice copper tags as well, but I wanted to put those in there so I would not forget. So all of these front couple of rows, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows right here are the dahlias, and then I just tried to repeat, like dahlias here, dahlias down there, zinnias here, zinnias down there, celosia here, celosia down there, just so this garden will look even. Now, I want to go over some of the benefits of pinching. So pinching just means that you are going to remove the tip of the plant. Do you see where we removed this very tip of the plant? And then in the video also today, I'm going to show where I actually pinched them, and then I put them in this is mulch, but I also put them in planting soil, and I'm going to try to get another plant out of that. So I'll put it in rooting hormone, and I'll share the pictures with you too of me doing that process. So hopefully I can get another plant. I may not have room to put another plant, but I can gift that plant as well to my neighbors. And another benefit of removing the tip of the plant or pinching is that it promotes a bushier plant. So you can see right here that wherever I pinched, I'm starting to get right here another branching. So this is going to encourage branching. And by encouraging branching, it stimulates the production of more flowers. So not only would I have a flower that would have came up this way, but now I'm going to have 2 that will come that way. So you can see, like right here, it's starting to branch out there. I think it looks pretty good, you guys. Like, I'm pretty happy with it right now. Branching right here. You see how it's starting to branch down there too? So this was the very first time that I've ever planted dahlia seeds, and it was pretty easy. They all germinated. They came up pretty well. So like I said, I was pretty happy with the process, and these came from Aaron at Floret Farms. Now I also had to harden these plants off too from inside. I couldn't just bring them from inside and bring them right to outside and plant like I did right here. So hardening off means that if you bring the plant out from inside underneath the grow lights, then it may get shock if I plant it immediately. So in order to prevent the shock, you want to harden off your plants, which means that for 2 or 3 hours the first day, you would put them outside, and then after that you keep increasing it over time until you have about a week or 2 of hardening off. Now honestly, it did not take mine a week or 2 weeks to harden off. I had pretty good luck with them, but for the first several days I honestly did leave them out in the sun and make sure they were watered really well, and then I brought them inside and did the same process, and then I actually put them in the shade too. So I think mine were hardened off actually within a week's time. So this is the celosia, and I have different types of celosia. So you can see this one's called pink chenille, pink chenille. And then I have another type right here called autumn blaze. And they look pretty happy, all except for a few. I might have to come and give this one a little bit of drink of water. And then of course I put my mulch on top after I planted that. And then I also planted with my auger as well, my power planter auger. So I do have a couple of clips of me showing me planting these, and I'll share that with you. But before I put down these plants, I added a good 2 or 3 inches of compost, and I used the black cow for mine, and that's all I did was lay the compost on top, and then when I augered my plants in, then the compost got down into the soil, if that makes sense. Now I do have drip in this area, so that is something that you want to think about, that you want to be successful, is to have drip. You can use a soaker hose as well. You can do by hand, but for me, I don't have time to do all this by hand. So I have drip. You can see a little of my drip right here. Actually, I have let's see, I don't know what that is, a mushroom. I have the 1/2 inch hose right there, and then I have the 1/4 drip coming off here. And these little hose right here are the emitters where they drip water. And there's emitters in this one too. So I have a 1/2 inch hose and a 1/4 inch hose as well, or tubing. I do need to move this corbel somewhere in the shade. That's been on my list too. This I grew by seed as well, and this is Gaillardia. And I planted that on 2-7 by seed. I think they look really nice. So I just put, to make it look symmetrical, I put some here and then some here to kind of break it up a little bit. So like I said, after you harden your plants off, that they're good to stay outside. And then you want to make sure that your plants are getting a good 6 hours of sun. Now this area gets a really good morning sun, and then I have some shade in the afternoon, which I heard dahlias really like that when we have a hot climate like I do here in my zone, Charlotte, North Carolina, zone 8, that they do benefit from having a break from that sun in the afternoon. These are all zinnias. Let's see. This one's called Golden Hour Zinnia. And like I said, these were all seeds from Floret. And they did really well. They germinated really good for me. And then I have the dahlias again. Dahlias. So another thing to think about when you don't have enough sun, that they could get leggy and they can produce less flowers. So that might be something that you want to think about too when you're thinking about where to place stuff for enough sun. And then another thing that you want to think about too is weeds. So that's why I add a generous amount of mulch on mine, is to prevent the weeds right here. So you can pull your weeds by hand. You can add a generous amount of compost or some kind of old leaves or pine straw to help prevent weeds. And then you can use an old-fashioned hoe to get your weeds out as well. A lot of times when I see weeds, I'll just kind of pull them up by hand. But I do really believe that adding enough mulch helps me prevent from actually having to pull up weeds all the time. You can see this is where my drip system is on the faucet. I got one for this side container. This will go to the sod in the back. This goes to the sod in the front. And then of course I have one to my regular watering hose. So that's why I have a 4-way right here. Boxwoods are looking really good. My husband just trimmed those, and I went ahead and did treat them for spider mites. You can see this new growth looks really good, and look at this old growth. Do you see that speckling on there? That is a sign of spider mites. So we do battle spider mites, and they will just sap all this green out of the leaf, and then it'll start turning brown. So make sure you treat your boxwoods. I like to spray mine at least twice a year, Like I said, I kind of did it early this year, but I probably will still give it another spray in May and then in September as well. So that's what all these little baby seedlings are doing. And I'm going to tell you guys, boy, do I appreciate the value of how much a plant costs. Because do you know how much attention that these little things took just to get to this far? It was a lot of attention. Right, Sasha? Huh? Tell them. Tell them how much Mama had to water all these things and make sure they didn't get dry. I had to fertilize them, and we had to smell some stinky stuff for a while. Sasha. I apologize. I thought it was going to just be nothing but sunny today, and look at those dark clouds. I think it's going to get a little bit of rain. But I want to back you up. I don't really want to show you my trash cans, but these are the plants right here that I'm going to put in the very front. So we already have some containers already planted up, but I'm going to use the jazzberry and that Hoopla Vivid Orchid and this Newly Noir Coleus. And then look, you guys, this verbena, the pink cashmere verbena, is starting to bloom a little bit. We're going to use some of this dwarf potato vine and some of this euphorbia that's pink. Isn't this pretty? I don't know if you guys ever seen the pink because it's pretty new this year. And then I got a Prince Tut that we're going to put in there as well. So that's going to be my thriller, filler, spiller. This will be a spiller thriller also. And then I got these in the mail not too long ago. These are geraniums. Let's see. They were mail order. These are geranium salop, however you say that, lavender. So we're gonna have to plant these up another day. I'm not gonna have time to do all this in one day. And then let me show you the front container that I need to clean out. This is the aqua pot that I need to clean out, and this is the largest aqua pot. And I love this pot because it has a self-watering container in there where I don't have to continually to water. I just water it once a week, and I am absolutely fine. Love it. So we need to get this Fatsia out and plant it somewhere else. I kind of hate it because it is really, really pretty in this container here, but it likes shade, so it's probably not going to be happy here in the summertime. And then I have some coral bells, and they're starting to bloom. Look, you guys. So I can put this in my cottage garden, or I could put it on the west side towards the middle where it gets a little bit more shade. And then this ornamental, just lost its Kent Beauty ornamental oregano. I need to get that out. I might keep this in there because it just does so well. This would be pretty as a ground cover too. And the flowers on this are so pretty. So that came back for me. That was a perennial. So almost everything I have in here is perennials right now. The heuchera, the ornamental oregano, this Fatsia, and then this, whatever this was. All right, guys, so while I'm removing all these plants from this container, I'm going to tell you about some of these plants. So let's talk about the Kent Beauty oregano first. It has unique hop-like flowers, its ornamental clusters, colors from green to dusty rose, mauve, pink. How gorgeous is that? It takes full sun, it's long blooming, it has a spicy aromatic scent, it's zones 5 to 9, it stays short, and it blooms early summer to early fall. Next up is the Artemisia. It has bright silver, lacy, mounded foliage known for its prized silver leaves, and it has an excellent texture. It's a perennial, it takes full sun, it zones 4 to 8, it's deer resistant, it tolerates hot and dry sites, prune early in spring. So next up is a spider's webs Fatsia. This is one of my favorites. It is a zone 7 through 10. It takes partial sun and shade. It has a unique evergreen. It has large variegated leaves that resembles a spider's web. It is a very desirable rare evergreen. It has white splashing and dotting on broad palmate leaves that often finds its way into the center of the leaf. So now that I've talked about my favorite plants in this container, let's clean up this aquapot. You can see that I have this large aquapot, and I really do love it because I can bring my big pop of colors in between my two garage doors. And it is a self-watering container, so I do not have to water but once a week. I do not have drip to this area, so it is really important to me because I do work and I don't have to constantly just water every single day. The Proven Winners Premium Soil is my favorite soil of all times. I also do like Espoma products, so I do trade off for these two products. And even though that I'm putting annuals in this container, I still like to use my Biotone and this premium continuous release fertilizer that still would give my plants food up to 3 months. In the soil, it also does contain a little bit of that continuous release fertilizer as well, so you're getting your big bang for your buck. I really like it because this soil is really fluffy and easy to work with, and it drains really well. So you can see here that I do have a Prince Tut. The Prince Tut will be my thriller in this container, and it looks lovely. I just love those little spherical blooms on the top of this plant, and it makes it very magical. So I'm making sure I water all my plants in before I put them in this container, because you really don't want to put any kind of dry plant that will give it a bad start. So make sure you water your plants in really good before you even put them into the container. And next up is my angel wings. This is also going to be a thriller for me. Even though it looks really small, it's still going to be a thriller in this container, and it's going to give me that bright pink little flowers that's going to be so wonderful in this container. So I'm really excited. I actually got a lot of thrillers in this container. I'm going to have my grass, and then the angel wings, and then the coleus also. This next plant I grew before, and I truly do love it. It is a coleus, and is from the Color Blaze series. It takes sun or shade, which is very unusual for a coleus. Most coleuses like shade. So pay attention to the Color Blaze series so you can plant this in sun or shade. This one is called Newly Noir, and this is a plant that has a very colorful foliage that makes a great addition to any garden. It's a great way to add color to a container. This plant has deep purple to black foliage. Who doesn't love that? And it can grow up to 3.5 feet, you guys. And you can also prune it back, so if you don't want it very high, you can prune it back as well. It makes a great thriller in any combination recipe. Next plant that I'm going to put in this container coming up is called the Superbena Pink Cashmere. It is brand new this year, so I'm very excited about this plant. So I planted this en masse on my west side garden, so I'm very excited to share how that is going to perform this year for you guys. And I also included it in my very front garden, right in the middle of my mini white vistas. So let me tell you about the Superbena Pink Cashmere. Like I said, it's brand new this year. It has a great vigor. It has an awesome branching, and it has soft shades of pink that are clustered in a large umbels that cover deep green foliage. Doesn't that sound just like a poem, and is going to be very gorgeous in this container. And then another plant that I'm going to plant in this container is a sweet potato vine. Who does not love the sweet potato vine? It adds that big, bright chartreuse color to any container, especially when you have a lot of deep greens in your container, and it trails. Now this one is a dwarf sweet potato vine, and I've not really seen a dwarf before. I think it's probably new on the market this year, and it's not a Proven Winners. I bought this one at Wilson's Nursery, and this one will only trail about 12 to 15 inches, so I'm excited that it's not going to really take over this container. So again, always add sweet potato vine to your containers for a trailer. This next plant I was super excited to get my hands on because it was brand new. When I saw Jenny from Creekside Nursery and Laura from Garden Answer talk about this plant last year, I was super jealous. So I'm so excited to get my hands on this. I went to the nursery super early just to grab this petunia. This is a Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid. It can get 4 to 12 inches tall and can spread 8 to 2 feet, you guys. It is not a Vista, but it is a Supertunia. So let me tell you about this, and let's see what all the hoopla is all about. For one, it has no deadheading. It is well branched. It has a bold color pattern. It has purple flowers with bright red white edging. It's a vigorous growth, quickly fills in a container, provides continuous color. You can put it into the landscape or containers. I've done both. And like I said, I just am super excited about this plant, and I think I love the color, and I'm thinking it's going to make this container just give that big pop of color, and it's going to look gorgeous with this aqua color of this aqua pot. The next plant that I'm going to put in this container is very pretty on its own, and it is a proven winner accent Sweet Caroline Sweetheart Mahogany. This one takes full to part sun, and it only gets 6 to 18 inches tall, but it makes a great thriller. So the habit is a trailing. It is grown for its foliage, and it is an annual except zones 11A to 11B, so this one's not going to hardy over for me in the winter. Next up is the lovely Jazzberry Supertunia Vista. It is known for the best garden plant around. What a great thing to be known for. It has a large mounding and spreading plant. It puts on quite a show. It is a continuous rebloomer, no deadheading required, you guys, and it is very heat tolerant. So this one is going to fill in this container quite well, and it's also going to trail for me. So it's going to be my filler and my thriller as well. So I'm very excited for all these plants to grow together and fill in together, and be able to bring you on this journey of how great this color combination is going to be. I'm really excited about my picks this year, and I think it's going to be elegant and colorful, and it's going to bring all a great curb appeal. And like I said, everybody that walks by my house, I just love to bring a smile to their faces, and it makes me feel good when everybody comes by and just wants to stare and say, oh my gosh, I just love your garden. It makes me feel so good, and I just absolutely love it. And I love bringing you guys along the journey as well. So here, after I filled in all my plants, I'm just adding a little bit more soil here to make sure I'm not exposing any of the roots, and then we're going to water it in really well. The very first time that you put a container together, make sure the soil is completely soaked all the way through. Even though it's a self-watering container, does not mean that it doesn't have to be watered all the way through, especially for the very first time. It does have a drain hole on the side. It doesn't have one at the very bottom. And then when it's overfilled, this is how you see where it sprouts out. And this is where I put my oregano in my unique stone container right here. I'm just watering it really good. I'm very excited to see this little pop of color on the very side. And here you go. These are the color combinations for this year. Hope this video was helpful. I hope you like this container. I think it's very pretty. I love all the plants that I have in here. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.